going to go over graduation requirements. Graduation requirements have changed maybe since you've either had children in high school before. Some new guidelines that we need to go over are different types of honors diplomas, and then our scheduling options. You know, all of your students all the 8th graders are going to come over to the high school tomorrow to go on a tour of the building, meet some teachers, and learn about some scheduling options that they have moving forward. I keep going the wrong way, my apologies. So you should have all gotten a program to study. Do you all have a program to study? Should have had your name on it. What you have in front of you is an abbreviated version. Basically, we pulled out everything from that great big program to study book, and we condensed it down to what a freshman parent would need. So that's what you have in front of you. You should have had your name on it. And we'll be referring to that throughout the night. The full version is on our webpage. So I wanted to direct you where that was. If you go to our webpage, it's down on the right-hand side, Programs to Study. It has every class, every pathway, every honors diploma, all of our CCP options, and things like that. But you have an abbreviated version. Hopefully you got yours. If you didn't, they're still out in the cafeteria on the table there. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is graduation requirements, and I'm going to step aside and let Mrs. Erica Vasilides, she is one of our school counselors, and she's going to take it from here. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so which way is down? Okay. Yes, I'm Mrs. Vasilides. This is my 6th school year at Fairless. Before that, I worked in admissions at Walsh. So I'm coming from more of the college side. Mr. Glasgow is the co-counselor. He works with last names A through L, but because we have male and female, we have kind of an open door policy for if you need to talk about social emotional stuff and you'd rather talk to me or him, it doesn't offend us. So we'll be with you the next 4 years, which does go really, really fast. So as far as grad requirements, I did put an extra sheet by the packets, with the packets. And it's just a one-pager to kind of explain the grad requirements. If you haven't had a student in high school in a while, or this is your oldest, it used to be you just passed your OGTs, you passed your classes, you were good to go. But now things are a lot more complicated. So the first step, you have to have 22 credits. So each year we try to fill the student's schedule. They're only allowed 1 study hall, which gives them typically around 6 credits. So if you do the math, 6 times 4, 24 credits, usually students don't have any problem earning this, okay? So that is a Fairless requirement. Step 2 is a state requirement. So whether you're here at Fairless, you're at Massillon, Perry, Hoover, you have 2 tests that you have to pass. Algebra 1, and that'll be taken either your 8th grade year or your 9th grade year, and then sophomore English. So you have to score a 684. Okay, so students will do that, and we do it kind of early, so that way if they don't pass, we can, intervene, do some intervention, and retake it, okay? And then step 3 is earning 2 seals, and these are literally stickers that go on their high school diploma, and they have to earn 2 of them. I think, okay, so those are all the classes. So as far as for a high school student at Fairless, you need 1 semester of health, 2 semesters of gym, 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, 1 fine art, half a credit of financial literacy, and then 5.5 credits of electives. So that could be Spanish, sports officiating, media, whatever the student is interested in. All right, so we talked about the test scores. And then step 3, these are all the seals. So on the right, the local, Fairless determined those. So we tried to make them easy for the student. Student engagement, how many students in here play a sport? Awesome, so if you do 2 seasons of a sport, you have earned the student engagement seal. If you do 2 years of Key Club, you receive that seal. Fine arts is 2 credits of fine arts or 2 seasons of Falcon Playhouse. So if you're planning on doing the musical, 2 seasons, that would get you your fine arts seal. And then community service is only 10 hours within the 4 years. A lot of students, when we went, Mr. Glasgow and myself visited Mr. Whitting's classes. So we met your students, and a lot of them talked about being in 4-H, Boy Scouts, church, all that stuff counts. We just have to have letterhead from wherever, the organization, just stating that they completed it. And then on the left, these are state seals, so you have to have at least 1 state seal. And these are determined by the state, and these are academic based. So for example, the science seal, if they're gonna take the biology end of course exam, so they're gonna have other exams, not just English and algebra. So if they score a 700 or higher, they get the biology or the science seal. And if they get a or, so the bullet points are the or, if you get a B or higher in an advanced science, so that could be chemistry, physics, aviation 2, those classes would get you the science seal. Any questions about grad requirements? I know it's a lot. It's a lot to track. So we're tracking our students each year to see which seals they've earned and adding them as we go. All right, so how scheduling is gonna go this year, it's a little bit different. Like I mentioned, we went into the classes, we went over to the middle school, met your students, talked to them, had a very similar presentation last week. Tonight is the parent scheduled presentation. Next week, we are going to meet with students one-on-one during Mr. Whitting's class. We're gonna pull them during that class into the library, sit down with them, get their schedule, make sure they have enough classes. If they have questions, they can ask us one-on-one. And then once we get all those requests, that gives us an idea of what kind of schedule we need at the high school. So how many students want sports officiating? How many sections do we need of aviation? So the principals and the counselors work together to make that master schedule. And that happens in March and April. So we don't know which teacher is teaching which course. We don't know what's being offered when. That's always what the students want to know. Right now we're just gathering the request. Then the computer will actually run the schedules and randomize into classes, and that happens in May. So our goal is always to get you your schedule before summer break. That makes sense? Okay. Something that did come up, if your student is on an IEP or a 504 plan and will have an intervention period, what we do is we take the request from your student and we give that to their new intervention specialist here at the high school, and they hand create a schedule for them. So depending on which class maybe has a co-teacher in it, if it's co-taught for English, but that way they have which classes, like, oh, this student really wants media, and they'll make sure that they get those classes. Okay, so you won't see an intervention period on the schedule. So this yellow form hopefully went home to you. If not, I have extras. We're hoping that this is going back to Mr. Whitting, so that way when we meet with them next week, we can pull this out and have it. So at the top are the 4 core, so they have to choose, obviously, English, math, science, social studies. For math, if they're already in algebra right now, they would move to geometry. Everybody else would stay in algebra. Science, they get an option, physical science or aviation, which we're gonna go over a little more in depth soon, right after my presentation. And then social studies, American government, or next year we are having a college credit plus version of American government called American politics, which will be taught in person with Mr. Stuck. So that's an option too. It'll just be 1 semester, but you'll get your full credit. And then the elective courses are down below, which we'll kind of go in more depth as the presentation goes on. But this is what the student fills out. They just circle which classes they want. On the back, we put a little planning form because for some reason, I know me, I need to see it. So I need to see the layout of what my schedule is going to look like. So they can actually put, government's a full year. Health is obviously only half a year. So then they can choose gym, financial literacy, maybe a cooking class. So this is like a typical freshman schedule. We have 7 periods in our day. I think the 8th graders told me they have 8 at the middle school. Is that right? Okay, so you have 7 here. You don't have to schedule a lunch. We will make sure every student gets a lunch. It's incorporated into a period. So for example, this is a typical freshman. Period 1 might have algebra. Period 2, maybe they are taking aviation. Period 3, government. 4AB would be their English 9. 4C is SOAR. I don't know if they have anything similar to this at the middle school, like an RTI period. You guys have something similar? So it's a time that we don't do any new instruction. It's 20 minutes. We use it to do our social emotional learning curriculum, 7 mindsets. We'll have colleges come in and visit, and they talk to our 10 through 12 students, different careers, military, ACT pre-registration. So it's just a time that we have in our day, every day for 20 minutes that we know we could, get the students. 5A would be the students' lunch, 5BC media, period 6 would be gym in the first semester, which would be the first and second 9 weeks, and then health would be the third and fourth 9 weeks, and then Spanish too. So this is a typical schedule, just an example so you can see what someone's day would look like with that lunch and SOAR. Any questions so far? All right, so now we're going to go a little more in depth on each of those electives so you can kind of see, and students definitely pay attention because tomorrow you could ask these more specific questions to the teacher that's teaching it. So I'm going to pass this off to Dr. BZ, who's our assistant principal.
Good evening. It's very nice to see all of you coming out on a very snowy, cold. When I was out doing bus duty, I was surprised how cold it is. So I appreciate you braving the cold to be out here. Aviation science is one of the choices that students can make for their science. They need a total of 4 before they graduate. 3 science classes. I was a science teacher, so I can't imagine not wanting to have one more. Mr. Johnson is here. He's our aviation teacher. Mr. Johnson, would you like to say a few words about aviation science? I'll give you the mic.
I'm not prepared to make remarks tonight, though. Thank you for the offer.
I will just brag a little bit. He is doing a tremendous job. Students really seem to enjoy aviation science. This is the first year. So I can unequivocally say he is our very best aviation science teacher.
I will say that I do have a pretty extensive presentation to give tomorrow to the kids in my classroom.
Perfect.
So they will learn a lot about it tomorrow.
And you'll also get an opportunity to look at a section of physical science. That is another option as well. And it's whichever you have an interest in pursuing. So aviation science, like I mentioned, it is in its first year. It's a part of a 4-year program, and it is both geared towards manned flight as well as unmanned air systems, UAS. Most people refer to them as drones. So it's both manned flight and unmanned flight. There's also a lot of students who go through a program like this eventually decide that they want to go into engineering, maybe air traffic control, something. Not everyone has to be a pilot. It may just be that you have an interest in aviation. Maybe it's going to turn into be a hobby for you. So our aviation program has taken off this year, pun intended, and we're looking forward to adding year 2 next year. All right, you said down, so I'm moving on. Here's some other electives. And again, the students, when they arrive tomorrow from the middle school, they'll have an opportunity to visit the classrooms of most of our electives for about 10, 15 minutes each and see, is that something that they have an interest in? So one thing that we added this past year was a new class for us that was called Media 1. We found that we had a lot of students who were interested in going into something about media, whether it was what we would normally call film or broadcast or video, maybe podcasting, maybe it was graphic design. So we created a course because initially freshmen came in and were like, I'm gonna try all three. They didn't all fit in their schedule. So we came up with the idea of, from our media department, hey, we're gonna collaborate, we're gonna work together, we're gonna give students a taste of each of these so they don't have to pick one and stick with it. They can sample all three and then decide the next year, hey, I wanna specialize in one or two of these areas. So that's our Media 1 class. For music, we have our different options listed. You have your chorale, band, there's a music technology, and we have a lot of options in the performing arts. The next one is our visual arts. Our visual arts, we have an initial first semester, and then students can specialize either in their freshman year or in subsequent years if they want to take one form of visual art and that really is interest to them, and you see those options there. The next one is our cooking classes, family consumer science classes, and again, you'll have an opportunity to visit these. Tomorrow, the students will have an opportunity to meet their teacher and experience a small segment of one of those classes to see if it's something that they might be interested in. We'll also have world language. Sometimes students will take Spanish 1 during their 8th grade year, so they might be ready for Spanish 2, so that's why I have both of them listed, but they typically go in consecutive order, so a student typically would enter 9th grade Spanish 1 unless they'd already taken it during their 8th grade year. For physical education, as we mentioned before, you'll need 2 semesters of physical education as a graduation requirement anywhere in the state of Ohio. There's also a 1 semester health requirement, but we also have a couple of other options. We have weightlifting available, and something unique to us, again, we started just this past year for the first time. Students can earn a credential to become a sports official, a referee and so forth, and that is a new option for us. That does not give the student a physical education credit, but it is very related. So students who maybe have an interest in that, it would be something that they want to check into that. We'll have that also showcased tomorrow. One of the things you may find is, of course, as we mentioned, we have 8 periods, being that we have our lunch is part of that. So it's very similar to your 8-period day, but if you number them, it's 1 through 7. But don't think you're getting shortchanged. But regardless, you may feel, oh man, I only have so many slots to fill. What can I do to get more availability so I can take all these things? I'm just interested in everything. One of the options that you'll be hearing about from us in the future is the option to take summer health and summer PE as soon as we have all those details arranged. So I'll mention that because that can free up and make more time in your schedule. College Credit Plus, students can sign up for taking college classes. So this may be something of interest to you as well. So I will mention that. It's a little bit more information. If it's something of interest to you, there's both information on our website and also in the handout that we gave to you that you can refer to as well. Athletic eligibility, how does it work? For high school, it's slightly different than middle school. In high school, you must have 5 passing credits. So quarter to quarter, look at that report card. If you're passing 5 classes, you are eligible the next quarter to play your sport. Honors diploma, this is something that the state has set up. How can you earn an honors diploma? Again, more information is in the packet that we gave you when you entered that has your name on the front of it. If you want more information on that, there are certain types of honors diplomas, and the requirements that the state has set forth are also listed in there as well. A couple of other things to know about as you're looking to the future. Please know that we are very similar grading scale. Anything 90% or higher is an A, and on down every 10% correlates to a different letter grade. We also have honors for graduation, and we have academic lettering. If you have questions, both Mrs. Vassilides and myself, we are up front and we're more than happy to take questions. But I also know that time is very much something that we try to economize. And I want to first of all thank you for taking your time this evening to be here, to be with us, and I look forward to welcoming your student tomorrow and showing them what all we have to offer. Thank you again. Thank you so much.